Each of us holds the ability to blow small issues out of proportion, turning life's little hiccups into huge obstacles that flood us with unnecessary stress. Alternatively, we can opt for the wise route. The wise one understands that nothing must shake our inner calm unless we actively transform it into a bigger deal than it truly is. Approaching each moment with a calm and accepting mindset, rather than reacting emotionally, can open up deep wells of peace and insight for you. This ability is something you can develop through consistent effort. Over time, as you let go of the habit of turning small issues into big problems, you'll find yourself reconnecting with the straightforward elegance of handling life's challenges and joys with a sense of inner balance. Question your inability to endure. Question yourself, why does this feel so tough to handle? Why do I struggle to cope? It might be uncomfortable to respond. Marcus Aurelius urged people to think about why they view a difficulty as unbearable. We tend to think some challenges are too overwhelming. But have you ever pondered why they hurt so much? Take a moment to think about this question sincerely. You might feel a bit embarrassed by not having a solid answer. Many things we deal with can be handled if we look at them the right way. Often, our minds blow up problems, making them appear huge and impossible to overcome. But when you look at them without bias, these challenges are usually manageable for you. Think about the physical discomforts you may experience. A pounding headache or an achy back can be quite unpleasant, but are they truly impossible to bear? Haven't you faced similar pains many times in the past? You discover your capacity to endure them when you see them as minor inconveniences rather than emergencies. Consider situations that stress you out, such as speaking in public or having tough talks. The worry before these moments might seem like a lot to handle, but many people face them daily without breaking down. You have coping abilities within you that you can use once you let go of the idea that you can't handle it. Experiencing tough emotions, such as losing someone dear or going through a significant breakup, can feel overwhelming when you're deep in sorrow and pain. Undoubtedly, deep sadness is among the toughest trials in life. However, with time, as countless people can confirm, you can endure this pain by staying strong. Don't rush to call something unbearable. Take a closer look at that assessment. You might realize that what's really making it tough is your own perspective and mindset. Challenge that mistaken point of view by asking yourself why you think you can't handle it. If you can't come up with a good reason, you'll see it clearly. Real struggles are real. Facing serious sickness, mistreatment, conflict, or hunger can be extremely tough. It's vital to keep your heart open to those going through unbearable distress. Nevertheless, from somewhere emerged the amazing people who find their own strength deep inside. They said, if you can handle everyday stuff, life will take care of itself. No matter how tough the situations are, you can get over them if you have a positive attitude towards it. Firstly, do not think about it as being unplayable. You have more strength than you think. Recognizing that there may not be a solid reason to give up will push you to face these difficulties with determination. When you encounter tough times, it's essential to stay strong and composed. Remember to breathe deeply and keep your cool. Don't let yourself feel swamped by the situation. Try to see your challenges clearly without blowing them out of proportion. Take things one step at a time if necessary. Use your problem-solving skills to come up with a strategy to progress, and understand that feeling some stress or unease is normal during this time. A lot of the pain you feel comes from fighting against what's happening, from disagreeing with the way things are instead of just taking them in stride. This struggle is what makes situations feel so tough to handle. But if you keep questioning yourself, why is it hard for me to deal with this? It can help you break through that struggle and get back in touch with your natural ability to bounce back. The more you practice something regularly, the stronger it becomes. Just like how working out a muscle makes it tougher, keeping a resilient mindset makes it easier to tap into when you're facing challenges. As you consistently ask yourself why you find something tough, you're building up that mental endurance to push through difficult times. We all face new challenges that push us to our limits. But it's important not to immediately think they're impossible before we've even tried. Which, if we ask the right questions and keep our problems in perspective, is a walk through even tough scenarios. The next time you want to call something intolerable, simply pause and ask yourself if that is really the case. If you really have no reason, know that you are capable of soldiering on if nothing else starts to break. Focus on the how, not the what. People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. Epictetus. Oftentimes, we are not in pain from the event, but more so how view it. The challenge we encounter isn't automatically distressing. It's our perception of it that causes us trouble. When faced with adversity, we often tend to let our minds spiral into catastrophic and negative scenarios about the situation. We see it through a skewed filter of anxiety, anger, and fear. But in reality, the situation is what it is, the facts. It's our interpretation that stirs up unease within you. Picture yourself stuck in a terrible traffic jam. For one person, this might spark panic about being late and missing a crucial event. They envision worst-case scenarios in their mind, losing their job, messing up everything. On the other hand, for someone else in the same traffic, it's an opportunity to enjoy an audiobook or podcast and work on being patient. The circumstances are identical, but the perspectives chosen greatly impact how the disturbance is felt. In many situations, small incidents can affect your mood. For example, spilling a drink at a restaurant may upset you, leading to a scene and disrupting your peace. On the other hand, you can choose to laugh it off. Ask for napkins, and not let it ruin your meal. Despite the spill being a fact, your reaction determines how upset you feel. It's not the incident itself, but your thoughts that can disturb you. Experiencing a job termination or being denied a promotion can be really tough, leaving you feeling down and frustrated. But is it truly the end of the road? It's like the end of the world from one angle, dwelling on the loss, feeling bitter for a long time. Yet, looking at it differently, it's a setback in your career journey, yes, but also a chance to pause, rethink, and chase a more fulfilling direction. The facts stay the same, but how you see it can alter your inner peace or keep you stuck in misery. As unexpected spikes the way of life goes, you have no power over what happens, but you can choose how to respond. In the heat of battle, even so-called emergencies are rarely as crucial and urgent. If you encounter trouble, pause for a moment and take a deep breath to look helps as time gives space in troubles. Keep in mind that the circumstances should not bother you, but your reaction towards them hurts. Make a conscious effort to choose a more sensible and positive viewpoint. When you stay focused on the plain facts and situations without letting emotions take over, you avoid unnecessary stress. It's actually our own thoughts that often cause us distress, not external factors. Don't let worry take over. It doesn't help you at all. It just steals your peace of mind. Anger won't alter the past. It only steals your happiness now. If you think wisely, you can protect yourself from these draining emotions. Avoid being trapped in negativity. Change your perspective, and the problem won't torment you anymore. You can always choose how you see a tough situation. Instead of letting fear take over, you have the power to look at it with wisdom, courage, and self-control. This doesn't mean ignoring the harsh truth, but safeguarding your inner joy from being controlled by things you can't change. Having to cope with a serious illness is tough for everyone. Still, it can be looked at as a hopeless situation and lead to despair. Another way to see it is as a challenge to conquer with strength or a reason to value each day more brightly. The thing is, how you perceive it is what sets apart hardship from peace of mind. When something upsetting happens next, don't just dwell on it. Take a moment to think about how you see the situation. Is it a perspective that will only upset you more, or is it a mindset that will help you stay calm and balanced? You have the power to choose how you react. One option causes distress, the other doesn't, even if the situation stays the same. Keep an eye on your thoughts and don't let negative thinking bring you pain. Even though external factors can affect you, remember that you always have the power to control how you see things around you. Our true freedom lies in how we see things. It's about finding balance in life instead of feeling constantly swamped by everything happening around you. When your mind blows things out of proportion, try to see them from a more neutral angle. Remember, something only becomes distressing when you give it that much significance through the way you interpret it. View obstacles as opportunities. You must build up your life action by action, and be content if each one achieves its goal as far as possible. And no one can keep you from this, but there will be some external obstacle, perhaps, but no obstacle to acting with justice, self-control, and wisdom. But what if some other area of my action is thwarted? Well, gladly accept the obstacle for what it is, and shift your attention to what is given. And another action will immediately take its place, one that better fits the life you are building. Marcus Aurelius. We pass through life on a highway where our choices determine the actions that we take. Invoke fairness, self-control, and judgment in every situation. This is predicated on doing the right thing across each situation encountered throughout life. Remember, nothing can prevent you from demonstrating these virtues, no matter what challenges you face. It's normal to encounter obstacles that block your plans in different aspects of life. You might lose a job, a deal might not work out, or a plan could go off track. These are just temporary setbacks that you can't control. What really counts is how you deal with these challenges, and that's completely up to you. Instead of feeling down, it's important to welcome and deal with challenges positively. Instead of resisting them, which only drains you and leads to unnecessary stress, try to accept them calmly. Take a moment to assess the new circumstances and see the chances they bring. Then, focus on taking a different approach that matches the values you hold dear and the life you're working to create. Don't stress about roadblocks. If one path is blocked, you can still find the right way through another route. Be flexible and maneuver around obstacles, like water flowing smoothly. Instead of fighting against it, handle challenges gracefully and wisely. This turns obstacles into opportunities for the next steps on your adjusted path. If you stay open-minded, things work out a lot better for yourself. Do not sweat the things you cannot control. Always remember that you are in control to point yourself towards good decisions which lead your life on to the next stepping stone. See every challenge as a chance to learn and grow. Imagine a business owner whose new venture doesn't succeed as expected. She could dwell on the bad luck and feel discouraged about the roadblock, or she could acknowledge the setback, stay composed, and seek out the new opportunity that emerges. The expertise she gained might have sparked a fresh entrepreneurial concept. Maybe a contact she made introduces a new possibility. The original idea didn't work out, but she found her way by consistently adapting and taking the right steps forward. In the meantime, she worked on being persistent and strong, which helped define who she was. Imagine if you suddenly lose your job. It's natural to feel upset and like a victim at first. However, reacting with anger and bitterness only leads to more negative feelings. Better approach would be to calmly assess the situation. See this change as a chance to rethink your priorities. Is it time for you to switch careers to better match your core values and goals? Could this mean starting a new venture or going back to school? Yes, they face challenges due to circumstances beyond their control. Yet, they have the ability to see it as a hurdle that can bring unexpected opportunities when approached with a flexible and open-minded attitude. In life, challenges can be turning points. Think about relationships. You can't stop a friend or partner from leaving, but you can choose how you react. Do you hold on to the past with anger, or do you gracefully navigate the change and welcome new connections? The first would, in time, turn bitter and envious, while the second becomes compassionate and grows. Unfortunately, we are not always in control of whether or how soon we get sick and injured when it comes to our health. The one thing that you can control is how you respond to it. If you tilt it the other way, it can be a reason to feel defeated or a chance to find another path of healing. The obstacle itself doesn't have the power to overcome us. Only if we keep fighting it instead of adapting to it, we might be defeated. In our creative endeavors and quest for knowledge, hurdles often lead us to fresh perspectives. Imagine a writer stuck on a book idea. Instead of banging their head against the wall, they could switch to a new concept that feels right. Similarly, if a student faces difficulty in one subject, they might find their true passion lies in another field they excel in. Challenges may steer us off course, but they can also open up unexpected opportunities for growth and advancement. Recognizing that hurdles can be tough and demanding is crucial. When life throws big curveballs your way, it's normal to feel the emotional burden. It's important not to bury these feelings deep down. Smart folks don't get stuck in negativity that doesn't bring any good. Instead, they allow themselves to acknowledge their emotions, dealing with them, and finding a way to move ahead. They tweak their goals and behaviors to fit the new situation, focusing on positive outcomes. When we travel such paths, these are interruptions or halts on the way in life. Those are just the table stakes. What you can manage is how you perceive them. You can see them as huge disasters that bring everything to a halt, or as detours that shift your path a bit, without changing the ultimate goal of living a good and wise life. When you keep an open mind, you're not fixed on one path or plan. By staying true to your core values, you create room for flexibility, adapting plans while maintaining your noble goals. With this adaptable approach, obstacles become opportunities for growth rather than roadblocks. When you have good intentions and a wise heart, obstacles can turn into opportunities. Just stay true to your values, adapt to the new challenges, and choose the right actions. By making these small but significant changes, you not only build on your past experiences, but also enhance your inner strength while smoothly navigating around any hurdles. Picture yourself navigating along a twisting mountain path. You may start off thinking the path will be clear all the way. However, the first obstacle, like a fallen tree or rock slide, can seem insurmountable. What if you changed how you see the path? What if you expected hurdles along the way and prepared to adjust your course regularly? When you encounter obstacles, you'll start seeing them as mere detours rather than disasters. You prepare yourself to climb rocks, discover new routes, backtrack, and think of innovative ways around them. Instead of straying from an impossible obstacle-free road, you'll come to accept hurdles as a natural part of the adventure. When it comes to your life's path, remember this important approach. You don't have to have everything figured out or a detailed plan from beginning to end. The key is to move forward guided by your core values and knowledge, adapting as challenges come your way. Follow heart and never deviate no matter what the circumstances. Remain grounded in morals, for truly is a ship adrift without an anchor. Do not consider obstacles as setbacks. Instead, see them as tools to guide you along your path. Embrace these challenges as chances to redirect your course, showing your commitment to progress. Even if your plans shift, your ultimate goal stays the same. Our main goal is to journey through life with wisdom and poise. No matter how tough the challenges may seem, they won't stop you if you stay flexible and adapt instead of fighting against them. Don't suffer imaginary pains. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca, think about it. How much time do we waste worrying about things that may never happen, rather than tackling the problems in front of us? Big problem we humans got is that our minds like to imagine scary stuff which might never happen, and it makes us anxious, stressed, etc. The reality is, we are more often scared of things that never happen rather than being truly hurt or damaged. The worries and fears that feel huge and scary in your mind often don't turn out as bad as you think. Still, we waste a lot of energy stressing about these imagined scenarios before they even happen. This habit causes a lot of needless pain. You end up borrowing trouble from the future, getting anxious and upset now about things that might happen. The scary scenarios we create in our minds drain us more than the actual challenges we encounter. Pay attention to this cycle of worrying too much about what could happen instead of what's really going on. Take a moment when you find your mind racing to the worst case, speculation on every potential thing that could go wrong. Distinguish the real from mere propaganda. The reality of what you have to deal with is quite real world, and writing thriller in your mind by allowing it running wild on scenarios. In life, you will face real challenges. Why make things harder by worrying about things that aren't even real? It's easier to solve problems when you stay calm instead of letting scary thoughts overwhelm you. Accept them not as you fear they truly are. For instance, one of the many fears most of us have is that fear only exists in our minds. Take public speaking, for instance. It is easy to be nervous in such a situation. And before your speech, you might conjure up all the terror-inducing possibilities, stopping cold, quivering like a mess of jelly, drawing an embarrassing blank. What if you made yourself into a spectacle? Yet, when the time comes, is it usually as bad as you anticipated? Didn't you manage to get through it, imperfections and all, and carry on without harm? The truth is, what you fear usually isn't as bad as you imagine. All that worrying and stress you put yourself through was unnecessary. Reflect on things you might worry about daily: health, loans, or other financial situations, problems with others. So much of the time, it is easy to get caught thinking about the worst possible situations. You lose your job. They give you a terrible diagnosis. People walk out on you. So what actually happens in the refinish? Sure, big challenges may arise sometimes, but most of the time, life just goes on, and the issues aren't as huge as we imagined while worrying about them. The excitement we felt made us expect the worst, but when things turned out fine, we realized we were overreacting. Let's not overlook the serious challenges that can arise in life. Losing someone dear, facing a serious illness, going through a divorce, or experiencing financial collapse. These are true hardships that most of us will face at some stage in life. Despite these deep struggles, it's important not to add unnecessary imagined pains on top of the already heavy burden. When you are mourning a loss, it's best not to make things harder on yourself by fixating on detailed what-ifs and scenarios that will never happen. Dealing with health issues is tough enough without adding unnecessary anxiety about long-term problems that doctors say are manageable. It is normal to want relief from what we are currently experiencing, but it hardly helps if you add on future vagueness. At times, it distracts us from what we are engaged in at the moment or takes away our focus on looking ahead and making plans. In crucial positions, it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make an already hard problem even more excruciating. Our minds often tend to dwell on imaginary problems, especially in minor situations. Think about how draining it is to overthink, overanalyze, and imagine worst-case scenarios. We replay non-existent conversations, create imaginary conflicts, and criticize ourselves for mistakes that are only in our thoughts. When you realize this pattern, you can find more inner peace. We often find that our minds are really good at making up problems that bother us more than we need to be bothered. We start noticing the gap between what's real and the scary stories our brains make up to stress us out. The benefit of being aware is that you can stop these negative thoughts before they start to snowball. Pause and center yourself by the reality of what is actually happening, here in present time, not all those scary things that might be going on. Most of the time, reality is milder and more acceptable than the fabricated horror stories we conduct in our racing brains. There's no need to make everything so intense. Many aspects of life are neutral, not extremely good or bad, just regular and everyday. Sometimes, our minds blow minor things out of proportion, making them seem like big symbolic issues. This is how we justify our inner worries. But when you detach from these made-up stories, everyday events are just that, ordinary. By saving your energy for real challenges, you avoid wasting it on imaginary problems. Remember, your inner strength is much greater than you think. It's smart to think about possible risks and get ready for them. However, dwelling on worst-case scenarios all the time is more like torturing yourself mentally than being careful. It's crucial to distinguish between logically considering what could happen and getting caught up in emotional worries about things that might not even occur. Let's take a good look at where most of our daily worries really come from. Our minds often create more distress than what's actually happening around us. We tend to cause our own worries by imagining scary scenarios. The world itself is usually calm until we start picturing fearful stories on top of it. Take a pause and don't worry before time. Overthinking is the number one cause of a freakout. Focus on reality and not creating scenarios in your brain that you can be scared by later. When you start imagining terrible things that might happen in the future, remember that fear is usually more common than actual harm. Don't let yourself suffer unnecessarily from fears that only exist in your mind. The present reality already brings challenges. There's no need to add more torment to your life. Stay alert to this habit and face each moment as it comes, instead of imagining worst-case scenarios in your mind. Don't create your own upsets. You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Marcus Aurelius. Many times, we tend to magnify a simple situation into something distressing and troubling. A small problem or inconvenience only becomes a major crisis if we decide to see it that way. The cause of many upsets doesn't always come from the event itself, but from the stories we create in our minds about them. We often perceive minor hurdles as unfair blows, sparking fires we feel compelled to put out. We transform challenges into urgent matters that leave us rushing around in a panic. Imagine if we just stopped for a moment. If we could slow down and take a moment to breathe, maybe then before going off the deep end of our upsetness scale. Yes, it is just made up. Perhaps have another look-see at what's happening. A flat tire, a nasty remark, or closed airport. They don't have to bring your spirit down. When you accept what happened without blowing it out of proportion in your mind, it remains just what it is, nothing more. It's up to you how much you let these incidents bother you. You can break the habit of making small problems into big dramas. Instead of reacting emotionally, try facing each situation with a sense of calm acceptance. Consider if you want to make this a bigger deal. You have the ability to stop upsetting yourself unnecessarily with some practice. When you catch yourself before creating unnecessary drama in your thoughts, you become calmer and less affected by life's ups and downs. Imagine this common situation. Someone cuts you off in traffic. It can really throw you off, right? You might take it personally, feeling like it's a huge disrespect. Your mind starts creating stories about why that driver did it, making up reasons to justify your anger. Suddenly, what started as a small event becomes a big deal that triggers your fury. Do you ever wonder if all that inner conflict was really needed? Imagine if, instead of blowing it out of proportion, we simply recognized it as a careless driving error and carried on. Instead of brewing up anger and unnecessary emotional scenes, we could just let the simple incident stay just that, simple and neutral. You can stop small annoyances from becoming major issues. Example, if someone doesn't want to date you, that does not mean you're less worthy or anything. Losing your job should not be a death sentence for identity. Suffering from serious illness or an accident does not mean you have to compound the problem with negative stories. Many times, the extra suffering comes from the interpretations we forcefully attach to ordinary events. As soon as something happens, we tend to create narratives that upset us, focusing on feeling wronged, unfairness, and how everything is ruined. It was just a regular part of life until we gave it more importance than necessary. The discomforts are not related to what happens most of the time, but how you think about it, and tell yourself a story in your head. We tend to make mountains out of molehills because we keep turning things into some emotional story that pisses us off. However, we don't really need to do that to ourselves. You can decide not to make a fuss about most situations. Certainly, life is a complex color of frustrations and disappointments, but it is often these extra burden, sadness that we impose upon ourselves. Once you realize that your thinking is catastrophizing, the thoughts lose power. Self-embarrassment arrives with the ability to see you are creating drama that does not belong in a situation. You understand that it's your reaction causing the trouble, not the actual event. Recognizing this gives you the power to decide how to respond. Do you choose to overthink this, or do you take a step back and observe the situation calmly? Developing this skill requires practice. We are naturally inclined to transform every situation into a captivating tale that we immerse ourselves in emotionally. Just like breaking any habit, altering this automatic response demands dedication. However, as you refine your ability to remain non-reactive, you'll notice a deeper sense of peace settling within you. You start to understand that much of your past distress didn't stem from the events, but from your own tendency to create dramatic narratives. When you accept situations as they are without getting caught up in drama, you free up your energy. Instead of wasting it on unnecessary stress, you can focus on responding smartly and calmly. This mindset helps you see clearly where you should direct your efforts. By avoiding emotional reactions that drain you, you keep yourself ready to handle important tasks with a steady hand. Don't let little things bother you. What you focus on can determine how big an issue it becomes in your mind. By taking this approach, you can find joy in everyday life. That flat tire that used to ruin your day now seems like a minor inconvenience that you handle calmly. Choosing not to take offense at a rude store clerk means you don't let it ruin your mood. When faced with inevitable inconveniences, you tackle them with courage and composure, steering away from unnecessary drama. Don't worry. Learning about artificial intelligence doesn't mean you turn into a robot. You'll still feel those big moments just like anyone else. The difference is that you'll have better control over how you react. Instead of letting distress pile up from dramatic tales that you conjured up, you can choose not to let challenges upset you more than necessary. It's all about maintaining authority over your emotional responses. Try taking a moment to stop before letting situations upset you. Think about how you often drain your energy by making minor issues into major problems based on stories you've made up in your head. Feel the calm that comes when you let things unfold naturally. As you practice this peaceful mindset, you'll start to question why you used to stress over things that didn't really matter. You don't have to let anything shake you, so there's no need to turn small issues into big dramas. Instead of blowing things out of proportion, let them slide by gracefully. Life will always throw challenges your way. That's just how it goes as a human. The decision is ours on whether we magnify them into huge issues or see them as temporary hurdles to tackle. Are we capable of handling every situation with composure and clarity? Or will we keep overreacting to every minor detail? It's up to us to choose our response every single moment. When you choose to remain calm and keep a clear mind, you unlock your full potential as a conscious individual. Nothing can disturb you unless you allow it to. Through practice, your intense reactions will diminish, leaving you with a tranquil state of mind, devoid of the negative tales you once believed. Life continues, and you can progress without being unsettled.